And we're back here once again with another episode of the Cloud9 podcast, season 15, episode 14. So I hope you guys had a great day, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the Cloud9 podcast, I am going to be having a conversation, and this is going to be something that you guys normally really don't see on this channel for this podcast, specifically because I normally do this with Warren and Mr. Blanks. But I figured, since I'm going to have this kind of, one-on-one, this is going to be primarily focused on League of Legends. So I figure it pretty much should just run through the Cloud9 podcast. And I am going to be talking with Cloud Sidky. This is the guy that I've seen his channel pop up on my recommended algorithm, you could say, on YouTube, where he interviews like pro players and coaches and all that stuff on his channel, which is pretty good. Actually, it's always nice to have like the insight of like what potentially a coach and a player were thinking going into a match on that day. Specifically, he has his show, the LTA report, and he's actually a Shopify Rebellion super fan. So that's crazy. He's been through a lot of heartbreak recently. Holy crap. If I had to sit there and watch Palafox games recently, I would feel very bad. He did bounce back a little bit toward the very end of the split, but then he was against Low-Key the final week of the lower bracket final, and then just kind of ran it down again. If he can just bounce back to that 2023 summer NRG form he had, if he could just bounce back to that, then we'll be good. But Palafox has been...
That's the goal. That's the goal.
But what if you guys got rid of Palafox and you brought in, let's say, Faker? See, there you go. If you bring in Faker,
I mean,
everything's solved.
You're not wrong. I would take that in a heartbeat, but
good Lord. You know the stories back in the day that essentially, I think it was Team Liquid, sent like Faker a blank check to come. I don't even, the amount was never been revealed, but I don't even know what amount you could even possibly offer him to come over here, because I'm pretty sure I've read some of the interviews he's did over the years. Faker just said he just doesn't really care about money like that. People just think like, oh, if you just throw him enough money, this guy, he'll come and he doesn't care. Because I heard he got more better offers from the LPL teams than T1, actually. So he just doesn't care. He just likes being there because, it's probably his home. He just likes being there,
I mean, he also has a building in Korea that's like his name on it. Like when you're set up enough and you have everything there, like leaving is just the amount of money for you to leave doesn't make much sense. So
yeah. Also, it doesn't make much sense to, leave your home and go to a different place, learn their language. And given how LPL teams are, you could be there for like forever on a team, pending a contract. And then, or you could be just out in a year, pending on contract. Or you could have a thing that's going on right now with Scout and EDG, or where like, you maybe want to leave, but you have like another year on your contract. So you have to end up basically staying, but then he got out of the contract last minute, just basically walked up and left to go to play on LNG. Crazy stuff over there. But, just in case you have a future appearance on the show, later on, down the road, at some point, we'll just get your origin story out of the way, because that's how superhero movies always go. You got to get the origin story out of the way first, and then you get into the good stuff. So how did you ever come into playing League of Legends at all? Did a friend recommend you playing the game, or you just discovered it on your own?
Oh, my friend had the beta. I don't know how he got his hands on it, but he was like, yo, want to come over and play? We used to play like, I don't even remember what we used to play at his place. We used to play, he had a lot of consoles, and I had like the Nintendo 64. That was all I had.
Mm-hmm.
And he had like all the new consoles. So one day he was like, yo, we used to play like some CS way back when it was still like, what was it? 1. No, it was before 1.6. I don't remember at this point, but yeah, he was just like, you want to try it?
Yeah, boomer at this point. Oh my god.
He was like, do you want to try it? I was like, sure. And I tried it, and I had so much fun. And then I would keep going back to his place to play League. And then when it finally released, I played a bunch of season 1, and then like season 2, season 3, didn't play too much. Season 4, I played a little bit, and then season 5, I started watching some. So I started watching League in season 3.
Okay.
I watched in season 3, I watched season 2 Worlds. Like I rewatched that, and then I watched like season 3 OGN. I didn't really watch the beginning of like LCS. I watched a few games here and there.
Yeah, you choose to watch quality games. Yeah, you a man of taste. Yeah.
Yeah, Cloud9 TSM. Like those games were really fun.
Such a different when they brought in back then. Yeah.
Yeah, so I watched a little bit. 2015 is when I really became a dedicated fan, and that's like that's when I gained my superpowers. I started watching every single league game in NA and EU. I watched a bunch of Korea, but like the time zones weren't great. And then slowly I got into LPL, and then I started liking LPL more than I liked Korea because, well, Korean games are boring compared to the LPL games. 2019, I kind of stopped watching LCK. Like I still watch it on and off, but mainly now my two leagues are like the LCS. I stopped watching EU LCS when they did the whole like 4 split thing in 2023. Um, so yeah, like
Oh, when it went to
mhm.
the 3 split format, then
And then the
yeah,
season finale, yeah, that's when I
yeah.
was just like, I got burned out. I was like, I don't even know. Every split has a format. Every format is different. Every time, sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. I don't even know what. There's no trophy. It's a shield. Like it
Even though
kind
it's
of it
kind of
kind
a trophy
of
because you're the winner, it's yeah, I hated that. Yeah.
it got to me that first year. I think the format is better now, but it
Mhm.
definitely got to me, and I was like, dude, I don't care enough. G2 always wins anyways, so stopped watching. But yeah, now it's just LPL. And in 2024,
Mhm.
started or end of 2023, I started a YouTube channel, and I was doing some beginner stuff like beginner guides and stuff, but I've
Mhm.
always been interested in like professional esports. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna reach out to every single pro player, every single coach, every single analyst, and see if they'll sit down with me for a conversation. I think the first person that said yes was no, that was the second person. The first person was Kelsey Moser, and that did really, really well. I had just had a conversation about coaching, and then because that's something I've done like in my um, personal life. And then I talked to Raz, I talked to Peter Dunn, I talked to Empire, who's on FlyQuest right now, winning trophies. People really like the interviews, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? Let me try to see if I can get into Riot like press and get like accredited so that I can do interviews with them. I just because it's fun, and I started doing it, and then people were like, "Oh, you're the interview dude." I'm like, "I guess I just kind of because they're fun." I don't really like. I'm not a journalist. I'm not trying to get the story out. I'm just like a fan that's like getting to talk to the players because I have questions and I play the game. And yeah, that's then I started a podcast, and now I'm invited onto someone else's podcast. More of
Yeah.
them.
So people don't know when it comes to like the LPL, there's so many the teams that did win were actually very good that year, but nobody actually really watched the LPL enough to see them. The biggest one I always remember, you'll remember this, was IG in 2018, where they literally, guys, they had a split where they went 17-1 both splits. So that means they went what? 36-2, some crazy shit like that. They were so dominant. I'm not shitting you. This has never happened. This was back. I mean, in the LPL, it never happened, but I remember no, it never happened in a year. This is the only region where the owner of LPL, the owner of China, played a game in the series. Like, so they were feel they're winning so hard against teams. The owner of the LPL actually allowed the owner of IG, like, you can play. The owner of IG's like Plat, that you would get absolutely fisted playing against that. Did matter. He was like, rookie, can you take a day off? I want to play the series. Rookie was like, sure, go ahead.
I think he was playing
And he still
ADC,
won.
no?
And then he still won.
Yeah.
I've never seen that ever. You'll never see that again. That was just a one time. I thought it was very fun just to have their owner just be like, I have enough money. I can just play. I'm just rich enough. Like, people forget that year, IG actually should have went to MSI over RNG, but that was the split where the Shy weirdly injured his hand, even though you would think they have chefs or something like that. He injured his hand. Then they had Duke, who was a world champion on his key. I'm not even saying Duke was bad, but he wasn't the Shy. Like the Shy, people don't know. People meme on the Shy now because he's on like IG now. People don't know when the Shy popped off back in his prime. Probably was the best glow up and prime I've seen out of a top laner ever. Honestly, I've never seen a top laner play as good as he did. Look up the Shy highlights. When he outplayed, I think it was a team where he did like a Silas outplay or some shit. It was absolutely just insane. Like, this guy used to be so damn good. Like, to the point where people were calling him the best player in the world when he would go to certain events. Like, I don't know what happened to him after that. Maybe he was like, okay, I proved myself. I had my peak. Now I'm just whatever the hell he is. There was a split. He would literally only play ADC's top and go 0-10 every split. It was back in like 2020. Just straight up 0-10, but he was mechanically beautifully. He was on the scoreboard. It looked 0-10.
A beautiful 0 and 10. Yeah.
It didn't look like
I mean, the
it's
crazy
where it
thing
wasn't in
that
sync.
year was that as good as the Shy was, Rookie was just as good in mid lane. Like he was gapping everyone. It was how do you stop this team? And the fact that they lost both finals to RNG was like crazy.
Yeah, I remember. Oh God, it was just so disgusting not having them go to the finals in spring, and people were like, "Oh, RNG's better," and it's like, really? Were they? I mean, IG you would debatably say was way stronger than the summer. Got like that little confirmation bias because they did beat them in the summer split because they did have the they had to Shy this time around. He got healed, and then at Worlds, people were like, "Oh my God, this team's so good." It's like, were nobody watching this team all year? People were like, "Oh my God, Rookie's just really good." It's like, this is guys, Rookie's been playing this all year. Guys, they went 36-2 in best of threes on a split a whole year. It's crazy. No one watched them until they went to Worlds that year. They won Worlds. They had that really great series against KT. You could probably just say that was the finals anyway. That was mostly the finals. That game 3 where they did that back door. I remember I was watching that live and my face was like this. I was just like that. Probably one of the best games to have watched live ever if you were around that time period. Worlds 2018 probably to go down as one of my favorite events. It was so fun. And then it was weird because in that same time frame, you had like next week, and then Cloud9 made semis, which is like, holy shit. Then G2 upset RNG. Imagine that if you're a Western fan. Cloud9 makes semis. G2, which has been, they were pretty bad with Wadid and Yarnan. I was never a fan of that move at all. They were just not good at all. Yarnan's a Heimerdinger one trick. Wadid was only good on like Tom Kench, and they upset RNG. Perks had that amazing little Blanc game. You know, legend has it. Uzi's still clicking on the lantern. God, man, what a throw. It's crazy because looking back now in the LPL, do you think there's a player in the LPL that has ever had the peak that the Shies had?
I want to say Bin last year. Like Bin last year was so incredible. Like I know he lost the final to Zeus. He did beat him twice in MSI, but like I know he lost the final. I think he was the best player of all last year. I know it went to Faker, like because he had that amazing Silas game.
It was just the game 3 and 4. It was just game
4 and 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Bin was the best player in the like. Chovy had amazing highs last year.
Oh, true. Yeah.
I still think Bin was the best player in the world last year. It was incredible to watch. Like as a BLG fan, I was watching those games and I was just like, I don't know how this team loses. Like I actually thought we were going to win MSI, and then because like we were just destroying their bottom lanes, and I'm like, what is Pays going to do? Like he's this rookie idiot Gary who doesn't know what, and then like the meta changes, and all of a sudden you can't like just have 5 people bot at 6 minutes, and it kind of hurt BLG. We still made it to the finals, but you know, it wasn't their meta, and then yeah.
Damn, like Elkin on, I was vouching for. I was like, they should keep this bot lane. This bot lane's very good. I'll be honest, I did not get a chance to watch a lot of the LPL this year because I've been so busy. But the games I did dip in for, it always felt like their bot lane wasn't respecting jungle pressure. Like they had to basically, like they were playing so far forward that they would never think the jungler would come and gank them. That was the issue that I saw very early on in the summer split. From when I watched them in winter, I guess it's called winter now. Like some weird OGN throwback for a lot of these splits, where I never. It's hard to say because it's hindsight 2020 technically, but if you basically seen how BLG I've always played with this roster, people forget it was Jun, and then they got RNG's jungler Wei. Now Wei has always been more of a team fight. I kind of play with the team kind of jungler. Jun is more of like I'm gonna skirmish at level 12 and you're gonna fight with me at Rift Herald kind of player. Like when they got Jun, it looked very well. When they got Wei, it looked really good, right? But that was like their honeymoon phase. People got to factor when you get a new player like that, you're always gonna have a honeymoon phase. Everyone kind of wants to try better with the new guy, trying to make him feel like they're giving it all. And then when you start having these growing pains, because they start having growing pains, I was like, this is not gonna be good. Because then at Worlds, lost a few games with Wei, they swapped him out. It's crazy how people still disrespect Jun on that roster because they're like, well, he wasn't the exact reason why they bounced back. It's like literally was one game away from winning the whole thing. He was quite literally the reason why.
One play, not even one game, like literally one play.
Yeah. It's actually insane how people think that not putting him in would have made things better than having him in the roster, because we even saw it this year. They were like, hey, Wei, we'll play a little bit more with you. They swapped him out for guys. Beichuan has been on Titties, what's his name? Titties, Thunder Talk. They've been on. He's been on Thunder Talk his entire life. He's literally not. He's not great. I've seen Batron as almost. He's not that good. He's okay, but as long as
It's
he
serviceable,
just,
yeah.
yeah, it's just like I still don't. I will never understand why get rid of Jun. I'll still. That might be the weirdest move ever. It's like
Oh, you don't know
I
what
get it.
happened?
I mean, I don't really.
Okay, so between spring and summer, basically the reason they brought in Wei was because they realized they couldn't beat Genji playing their style. They had to play a little bit more like coordinated and team fight
Mhm.
wise, and not just skirmishing. And Jun just wasn't able to adapt, so they brought in Wei. And then coming into this year, they wanted to just keep Jun, and then Jun tried to poach Knight and Bin to go over to JDG.
That would have
And then
been
they were like, "What
insane.
the hell are you doing?" Or maybe it wasn't JDG, but it was some. I think it was
Mhm.
JDG. And they were like, "You can't do that. You're off the team. We're just sticking with Wei."
So many shenanigans in the LPL. Just even today.
Yeah,
Today, RNG lost in a
it's,
court
yeah,
system where they have to pay like $140 million to someone. They didn't say who, but from what I remember, it was either from back in the day, from what I was reading, it was either between Xiaohu or Uzi, I think actually. They had problems, they had some pay disputes with RNG or whatever. People are RNG's kind of always had money issues. I remember like they were that bin loan situation from back in the day. So people don't remember that. Basically, BLG got Uzi, and then they traded with BLG to get Ben. This was back when Ben just came off of Suning, him winning that, him being in the finals in 2020, I think actually.
yeah.
And then so RNG ends up with Ben just through a trade. Then RNG went MSI, 2022. And they're like, hey, that guy's pretty good. I want that player back. RNG's like, oh, well, we can't really do anything. We'd actually pay you for him. So BLG got Ben back, and then Uzi went back to RNG. But Uzi never even played that many games. Maybe played like maybe a series or two, honestly. Because Uzi had always had that problem of like kind of, playing, not really taking the first part of a split that seriously, coming in toward like the very end, then playing playoffs, kind of like Kawhi Leonard does for like the NBA. It's kind of like
This
never
year,
takes.
Kawhi actually like played towards the end of the year. Like he played.
He plays very good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a while since we've seen Kawhi. Like maybe they can do something, you know?
Because it's weird that in LPO you can just loan trade players. I don't know why people in other leagues don't do that. It's actually pretty viable. Because remember, they got Milky Way. Milky Way. Oh my God. That might have been one of the best debuts for a player I've seen in a long time when he debuted
One
on
of the
FPX.
tragedies, the fact that he's on like a crap team.
He's back on RNG because the whole trade. RNG's like, oh man, you're popping up over here. I want you back. It's like, okay, that's the problem with trades. You can just take the player back if you see them just popping off. But like BLG, I feel like they're a super strong team back when they had Jun. But Jun getting in trouble for that, it's just like, oh, buddy, you guys got to be more secret with that. That's how everyone got away with it back in the day. You used to be more secret with it. You don't just tell a bunch of people. You tell like one person you really trust, then you hopefully make it happen. But what do you think about that EDG scout situation? Remember last year where he had to pay like
Yeah,
millions of dollars?
he has to pay like $4 million. I don't even know, man. I don't know who's at fault, to be honest. Like I read up on this thing so many times, and I'm just like, I just don't know who's at fault. Like, was it his fault for trying to sign to two teams while he's still like on? Was it he's not actually signed to a team? Was it like a predatory practice? I just don't know.
Because then it would have to play off the fact of like, how many more years in this contract are you in? Because remember how we said at the beginning part of the show that, when you sign to an LPL team, because I've seen LPL players sign in like 1 year and they're like there for 6, 7, 8 years sometimes, maybe Scout, I thought, okay, I've been on EDG since he's been on EDG since 2016 spring. That's how long he's been on EDG, to the
He
point
won
where,
them a world championship. I feel like,
yeah,
yeah.
you just feel like, okay, have I done enough for the org? Like, you
I
just
know,
feel like
right?
you did enough. Like, if I give you a world championship, fucking hell, But we'll go and talk about the LTA now, because you said you've been watching LCS for a very long time, since basically season 5, and then moving into now. So people are going to ask you, since you run the LTA report, do you actually like the rebrand? Because I'm pretty sure nobody does.
No, I think it was necessary. I think the way they did it, where they made LTA North and LTA South, was unnecessary, and that's the reason people don't like it. Because There's two things to rebrand. One, you need to have like a vision, and two,
True.
you need to sell that vision. They had a vision. They're like, hey, North and South, we're going to become one. That's our vision, right? They didn't sell the vision. They did such a poor job at marketing it, at selling it, at like making people understand what it really is. Like if I asked you right now, what is the format for Split 3? Would you be able to tell me?
For the LTA,
Yeah.
it's the whole pick a person, right? It's like
Do you know how
first
that
and
works?
all I remember from watching the explainer video was that basically you have a time where a team that's first can pick a team that's eighth, and seventh, second can pick a team that's sixth. That's all I remember. That's literally
It's
all I
the other
remember.
way around. It's the lower teams that get to call their shots and pick the teams up until
Yes.
like it flips at some point. Yes, but it's like if I had a pen, like I couldn't explain it, and I watched this thing religiously, and like most people are
Yeah.
like I don't even know what's going on.
Mhm.
So it's like one, they didn't really do a great job at explaining what was going on. Two, they changed halfway through, right? But then my main thing is like you didn't do you did such a good job at saying goodbye to the LCS with bringing out Double Finn Bjergsen to bring that last trophy. The ending of like last year's finals was amazing.
Yep.
And then what I think is you should have just done a bunch of goodbye videos and just have Double Lift talk about his favorite championships and like at the end be like goodbye LCS, welcome this new thing, and don't even call it LTA. Don't like wait and just
Mhm.
like do a really proper goodbye and then a really proper hello and like get us excited for it. Have I will dominate like make a video, have all these like co-streamers be like, this is why I'm excited for the LTA because I've been co-streaming, for example. I Will Dominate has been watching CBLOL for a while. I get to co-stream it now. I get to like do stuff like that. You know, maybe Cageroll has his own reasons. Like if you had done a good job at making me excited for LTA, then I'd be fine. But what you actually ended up doing is you erased all of our history in the LCS, right?
Mhm.
You're just like, oh, LCS doesn't matter anymore because we're this brand new thing. We're not LCS. So you're getting rid of a product that people loved, right? Obviously, it was on the decline, but you're getting rid of something that people were watching and you gave them something they don't care about and you give them no reason to care about it. So it's like either call it the LTA and then have like LCS and CBLOL and then they combine into the LTA,
Mhm.
or if you're going to do LTA North and South, you got to do it proper. You didn't have the budget to do that and then you complained that people aren't watching. Like you can't have it both ways. If you don't have a budget, don't do the rebrand. But you can't do the rebrand and not have the budget. So yeah, I'm not a fan.
My thing with it was I didn't like the logo. The logo just looks really bad. Awful. I think they actually have a better looking logo that they didn't even use for the LTA. They actually had a decent one that I saw. That one's not used. It's played in the same studio. Everything still looks the same as the LCS. I just right when the winter split began and I saw the first game played, I was like, this is the same thing. There's nothing really significantly different here. Like a rebrand would mean like maybe a different stage, different way like the audience can view the game, maybe a different way the casters cast the game, something like that. It just kind of feels like it was just rebranded because people just said the LCS was dying and the viewership was tanking, but the LCS viewership was, it was going down and people did say, hey, we have to do something about this. The community was generally concerned, but they didn't say just change the whole thing. They all people really wanted, from what I gathered when I was reading like Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that, was that people kind of wanted just like a Valorant style system with a different format, maybe, right? People didn't want mega changes like that. That's essentially trying to basically make like a new LEC in 2025. Because back when the EU LCS, rebranded to the LEC, that was back in 2019 when esports was doing way better than it is right now. They're essentially trying to make like an LEC brand now in 2025 when viewership is just not really there anymore. I mean, we've seen the viewership numbers. It's cratered with the whole rebrand. And it just, for what? It doesn't make any sense, honestly,
Yeah.
It's just God, makes me sad,
It's frustrating. Yeah, it really is.
Especially off of coming back off that final with Team Liquid versus FlyQuest, actually, where you had the whole ending where Team Liquid literally could have just saved their base. They lost. The LCS ended because minions hit the
I
Nexus.
know.
Not actual people. Nobody actually hit the Nexus. It was minions did it. Just probably the most LCS thing ever, honestly. Holy crap. And then, like I said before, could have ended it with Double Lift, Bjergsen, Sneaky, like all these like legendary LCS players being like, hey, thank you for watching the LCS. after all these years, this is my favorite moments from my career, something like that. It just kind of felt very just, I don't know. It ended like the Spider-Man animated series as a kid, just ended with just knowing that Mary Jane's out there and Madam Web and Spider-Man are gonna go look for her, and then it just ended. It's like, all right, cool, it's awesome. But
Yeah, the end.
just the end. And he's like, well, all right, well, that was awesome. And then you get into the LTA this year because you've watched since winter. We had that format you said where it was single elimination best of threes with the CB or LTA South or whatever they call it, and then just we crushed their teams. And it's not even really like those weren't really close games. I mean, Team Liquid kind of started running it down in their series, but they ended up winning still.
Okay, started running it down in this series.
Yes,
but yeah.
yes. And then what's crazy is the best team in that winner split was Isurus Estral. They weren't even Brazilian. That's their Spanish partner they have. And then Team Liquid and 100 Thieves end up being the finalists because FlyQuest get upset by 100 Thieves, a team that's been just consistently inconsistent. I don't know. We know how to explain them anymore. And then Cloud9 lost to Team Liquid, even though Cloud9 has been saying they've been beating Team Liquid in the scrims the entire split. They just lose just the best of three. And then Team Liquid 3-0 100 Thieves, which is crazy. People don't know, actually. 100 Thieves have never actually played a full best of 5 whenever they've been in finals. They've actually only either won 3-0 or lost 3-0. The first time they went to the finals was in 2021 LCS summer against Team Liquid. They won 3-0 once they had Abadage and closer. Then they went to the finals next year back to back and they lost 0-3. So they've never actually played a full series in finals ever.
Yeah.
They haven't won since 2021 summer. That's crazy. Yeah.
If they win the first game, they win it. They win it all. If they lose the first game, they lose it all.
Oh God. So what did you think about First Stand? Did you actually watch it? Did you actually enjoy it?
I did. I thought it was like a nice little introductory tournament. Like, welcome to professional, like international League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I looked at it. And from that aspect, like it was a fun tournament. From like the competitiveness, from like basically everything else, probably not. But as a fan, like you have like what was it, like 5 weeks of domestic play into like a quick 1 week international tournament. I thought it was a nice like introduction to the year if we're gonna do this 3 split thing. So I was a fan.
Man, just watching Homo Life basically tell Team Liquid on stage, "Hey, you can win.
Just please, we're begging you, win." And they're just like,
he picked Kale. You guys see Zayzron? He's not picking Kale anymore. Yeah, it's because he just didn't respect him. That's actually just a respect thing. I don't respect you at all. Guys, you don't know what Kale literally is not a champion until level 11. Not she's actually just worthless as a champion. No one plays her because he's not a champion till level 11, level 16 where she gets her big power spike. That means he's basically not even a champion until like 20 minutes in. And they still lost. I thought that was just, oh God. And now, going into this split we just had, what did you feel about the split overall? Did you actually think it was a little bit better than the winter split?
Oh yeah, I thought it was a lot better. Like in terms of format, first of all, we had the best of ones that sucked, but we had the best of threes and the best of fives. That was fun. I thought like the whole spring, like they really brought the spring theme. So like in winter split, I didn't feel like we were in Noxus. I didn't see shields and swords and like it didn't really feel that way. But with spring, they had like the cosplayers, they had the tailgates, they had the vents, they had like the Ari and the Yone like walking around on stage, So I thought that was pretty cool in terms of like how Riot presented it. In terms of like actual gameplay, I thought the games were a lot of fun. My team kept improving. Like I know as a Shopify fan, we've suffered a lot, but this split honestly has been great. Really enjoyed what the team has been able to like consistently improve and put together and make it to finals weekend. Like first time ever doing that. First time making playoffs. First time making it to finals. Like we did good compared to the expectations. So yeah, overall, I quite enjoyed the split. Obviously, it sucks for Umti, like his struggles and having to leave the team and whatnot. But overall, I thought that the split was much better. Like if they had just done double round robin best of one, I'd be very sad.
Mm-hmm. Because for Sapphire Rebellion, it's hard because if you were a team that was considered bottom 4 and winner, you essentially, if you lost week 1, if you lose the second week, you're already done. And they'd beaten Lion, I remember, and then they lost to, I think it was Team Liquid or someone like that.
Yeah,
And then they
TL.
were just done. You were like, 2 best of 3s and my season's over. I was like,
It
that
was 3 best of 3s, but for Lions and for DSG, it was just 2 best of 3s. Yeah.
yeah, that's why I was like, man, this winter format was bad. You basically took a whole break in November and December, basically half of January, because LCS usually comes back the final week of January. Usually, you wait most of January to play, then your season's over in 2 best of 3s or a match 3 best of 3s. It's like, what? I just don't get it. Like, that's just so
Yeah,
bad.
exactly.
Awful. Then you just waited another month and a half to play spring, and spring was way longer. You had basically, the way I look at spring, it was kind of like the way the LEC did it in 2023, 2024. You had best of 1s into best of 3s, then you had technically playoffs, if you want to count it as that. And then South by Rebellion going from basically, it's so hard to really count that split to a certain extent. It's like, I guess you could say maybe bottom 4, high bottom 4, to now finishing 3rd. That's actually a pretty nice glow up there. You know, they brought in DeMonte, who's been, he's a mid laner at one point on Echo Fox. He's now at this point a coach. He was a coach on FlyQuest last year, I think. And they brought him over to Shopify Rebellion. Now, and Fudge started out really rough. Because then, first part of the year, people were like, okay, that's the reason why Cloud9 got rid of that guy. He's turbo running it still. But he actually played really well. I actually was very surprised by how Fudge had actually gotten back to the form that people remember him for, because he was always a solid player, but seeing a solid player can make good plays, not making those plays anymore, was like, what's going on here? Because that's why I always kind of maybe suggest that League of Legends is more of a mental game sometimes. If you don't feel like you can do it, you kind of stut your own growth when you're making a play.
Yeah, definitely. I talked to him actually. That's one of the benefits of being able to do interviews. It's like, well, I'm a fan of my team. I'm just gonna talk to them about what I want. Like, I'm not gonna talk to them about, like, back in 2023, you said yes. So yeah, he basically is just like consistently doing the work. Something just happened to click. You just trust the process, and the process will run its course, and that's what he did. He trusted the process, and it worked out. So in general, he's always been a good player, right? I think like very few of his splits was he like bottom. I think most of his splits he was like either the best or second best. Like he was probably always top 3 in his role. So it's not a big surprise to see that he's back to where he was.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you're someone who can do the interviews on your channel. So I want to say, what has been your favorite interview so far that you've ever done?
Man, you're starting with the hard questions. It might be. I did a Coma interview that I really enjoyed.
Coma, the T1.
Yeah, T1 Coma, yeah.
That's crazy. That's insane.
That might be my favorite one. I mean, there's just so many. The first 3 that kind of came to my mind, there was an Impact interview I did before the beginning of the year, where we kind of just talked about 2024 Worlds and like what his career in general. And he actually said a lot of really like he opened up a lot. That was really cool. The Coma interview. There's an interview I did with Tarzan, coming into Worlds of last year, which I really enjoyed. I think maybe also Lehen's. I always enjoy doing Lehen's interviews. That was like one of my favorite interviews. But if I had to pick one, I'd say Coma. Yeah.
It's crazy because a guy like that has won so many world championships, and then in 2021, he's literally 1 game away, both international events, from winning them all. That imagine that. I won all these worlds with Faker. Now I just won 2 more without him, because people always look at like, oh, you only can win with Faker. If he had just won those events in 2021 when he was coaching Damwon, that would have been a nice nail in the coffin for his legacy. It's like, I won international events without Faker. Now, who can say that? You can win an event without Faker. It's pretty hard to say,
Well, he can't. So
damn it. God, man.
almost.
But I remember you had an interview with Abadage, where the headline of your video was the crowd in LA is now a bit sad. Because it's weird because when I watch the games for the LTA, the crowd is full. It's not like it's not ever full, or there's some seats here and there that aren't packed, like not occupied, but doesn't feel like the crowd is into the games anymore. Back like years ago, I felt like the crowd was actually into the games. The crowd's been kind of silent, even though it's a packed crowd, honestly, you know?
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like, there's a lot of people there, but it's like they're not cheering the way they used to. Like, it really is noticeable. Like, they'll make a huge play, and then you'd be like, "Oh my god, they're all gonna be like cheering," and it's nothing. It's literally nothing. Like when Shopify was playing and we were upsetting like 100 Thieves or we were upsetting like Team Liquid, you would expect there to be roars, and there's like crickets. And even LS, like he was co-streaming and he was like, at the end of the games, they were all cheering for like Shopify, and he was like, "You liars! You didn't cheer a single time when they were playing. You were only cheering for Team Liquid when they won, and now you're." It feels like they're much more muted. Obviously, when he played, there was like that's when like everybody was watching. That's when like it's not just that the crowds were full; it's that the energy there was different. And you can definitely feel it. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't hear the crowd going wild anymore. And in the past, like imagine 2013 to 2018, anytime TSM and CLG played, even if like it was just a regular game. My God, every time we get a kill, every time TSM gets a kill, it's just like cheering. Every time CLG gets a kill, it's like cheering. And now it's just like nothing.
Yeah, but the very first time I went to the LCS was back in 2015 spring. It was with I think some friends. It was back when I Will Dominate used to play. I actually met I Will Dominate at 2015. Yeah, it was back when he played with Piglet, X Special, and Quas, and all those. No, that week Piglet didn't play.
Yeah.
That was the week
that was when they brought in
Keith. Damn, yeah. Keith McBrief Omega lulled you. That was the joke in Twitch chat. Oh God, man, I was like, this is so fun. It was like, man, TSM would play. TSM chants were insane. TSM chants were.
Dude, that game I remember. It was the one where Turtle got a quadra kill in a base defense on Jinx, and the Team Liquid still ended up winning. I remember that game very vividly.
TSM games were fans absolutely just were going insane. Cloud9, what's crazy is Cloud9 always had a decent sized fans, but I always said as a Cloud9 fan myself was never as big as TSM. It never was. For some reason, Cloud9, even though they did better at Worlds, they always did better at Worlds. Didn't matter. It did like it's crazy. NA fans will tell you that all we care about is we just want to do well at Worlds. Like Cloud9, they made top 8. One year they actually made top 4. But there are more fans of TSM because of the TSM brand and personalities did it. That's why I said for esports, brands and personalities pretty much sell you. It's not like people very rarely care about gameplay, and if they do say that, they're probably lying. They're probably a fan because the favorite player of theirs ate some chicken nuggets. Remember that TSM chicken nugget challenge they did a long time ago?
Yeah,
that might have made you a fan of TSM.
Oh my God,
good Lord, yeah. Like no, people are like, oh my goodness, I love these players for their gameplay. People couldn't even tell you a major play they made. They're like, I'm a huge fan of this guy. He plays Lulu. That's crazy. No one highlights anything Lulu does because if Lulu makes a big play, you're like, I don't know what happened because Lulu's spells work where it's hard to notice her making the big outplay. Like CLG being gone. But to be fair, CLG's weird because CLG had not been CLG for a long time. Pretty much the start of 2017 was basically them just like not being CLG anymore when they had that Rainover roster with Huhi. Remember the CLG roster with Rainover?
Yeah.
Ever since then.
No, go ahead.
It's fine.
No, I was like that ended his career.
Yeah. Like ever since they had announced that Rainover was joining CLG that year, I mean, CLG pretty much was kind of like nothing for a long time. They were like hovering 9th to 10th for a very, very long time. And then only towards when they had that Luger and Poom bot lane and they almost beat Team Liquid, which had Bjergsen and Bwipo and Santorin and all those guys at one time. Then they almost beaten Cloud9. It was weird because at that point, CLG would kind of lose to everyone, but only have good games against Cloud9, which is weird. That's so odd. And then they were the only team to like take Cloud9 to 5 games. That split where they had Sven as a support. And then after that, yeah, CLG were like, yeah, CLG's gone. Now it's just NRG again. I'm like, but CLG had been a carcass. A shell of its former self years and years. Like CLG was gone, what, 2024. I think like 2024 was the last time. 2024 spring was the last time I played.
Spring was the last
2023.
time CLG.
Yeah, like CLG had been gone forever. You know that, but it was basically a stint of like 6 years since CLG had actually been like the CLG you remember with like Hot Shot and all those guys like that. That'd been gone. We were watching. Who the hell were we watching? Broxa on CLG. We were watching Wild Turtle on. Imagine that you're a TSM fan back in the day. Like Wild
Oh, the
Turtle's
Bud
on
Light
TSM.
Ace. Yeah, that was
Bud Light
man,
Ace.
that
Oh,
was, that was a season and a half, man. That split was such a disaster for CLG. Like I remember like Paul Belter just going on stream and being like, I don't know what to do. Like I'm trying my best, but like everything we do is just completely bad. Like I don't know what to do. It was like so heartbreaking to see like this, LCS champion who's just like completely distraught because he can't even win a game. It was really sad to see.
yeah, you could tell like because this was back before like the crowds like before the crowds that came back. They were just like playing at home. You could just tell the player cams were like they were just so depressing. Like watching Smoothie on the player cams was so depressing. And what's crazy is people only watched him then. Smoothie was, you could argue, one of the best Western supports we had ever had for a long time. And then he had the moment he went to Echo Fox, that ruined him. He never recovered. God, man. God. And then do you remember Broxa on CLG?
Yeah, he was trying his best for sure.
Oh God, him making Worlds Finals made everyone think that he was just this god. It's like it was decent, he was good at the game, but he wasn't going to be this player that warped how your team changed. I think they thought they were grabbing this like superstar jungler when it's like, no, you're just grabbing a good jungler. They're like they thought that could work. That Finn, guys, CLG had Finn.
Dude, I forgot about Finn. That's crazy.
Oh God, and then C9 had a menace. I don't know what's worse, a menace or Joseph Pion for C9, because what's crazy is looking back now for Cloud9, a menace won something for Cloud9. They actually went to both internationals that year with Cloud9, but the menace, Joseph Pion, did not work out for Cloud9.
Yeah, but the teams were the teams were a lot weaker that year. Like they won one split, they still lost their second split, but like there was no clear, you had like FlyQuest faltering with the Prince roster, and then you had yeah. So like I think even though Eminus was a worse player, it was just like an easier league to win, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because NRG only kind of started doing well at that moment in time in playoffs, because before they were just not good.
They were 9-9, weren't they? Or something
yeah, they were 9-9.
They were
Dokla, Big Dokes. We're having a Big Dokes.
Yeah, Big Dokes.
God
man,
damn,
he stepped up a lot. Yeah.
He did. I was surprised that people just kind of, people look at like the last split day he played on NRG, which was really bad. But I was like, we got to just keep, it's so crazy how someone could bounce back as hard as he did, win a title, go to Worlds, and then he has a bad year after that, kinda. And they're like, I'm just done with you. It's like, is there going to be no faith in players? A lot of people are going to have bad splits. Every once in a while, Faker still has a bad split. But T1 just doesn't give up on him.
He had such a bad split. Like, he had one of the worst splits you could possibly ever have. Like, I will defend the Dokla benching, because, like, that was just ridiculously bad.
Do you think it was as bad as Palafox, though? Because Palafox, both of them were having
Dokla was even worse. That's the thing. He was even worse. He was even worse. That's why Palafox found a spot and Dokla didn't.
That's true. That's true. But to be fair, remember, Shopify originally wanted Nisqy.
Yeah. Well, originally we wanted JoJo and then Nisqy, yeah.
Imagine a Shopify build with Nisqy. I was like, I don't know. Like, Nisqy made SK work a little bit, but then you got a chance to see, like, later in the year that's not good, because SK is like a punching bag. You just beat them up. They're like, we're still here. Like, SK Gaming reminds me of like those traditional sports teams where they're there, but they don't really ever do anything. They're just here to compete, technically, because they have a contract with the league. Like that, like for Disguise, because you watched Disguise, and well, sadly we all did. We sadly all watched.
Sadly, we all did. Yeah.
We all did. That was really, really bad. That was. I think we had looked at the record they had. I think they went like 2-20 in game score. Actually, it was awful.
What was the second game? They only won one game. What's the second game?
They won. Let me see. I'm trying to probably pull up the record right now.
They beat Team Liquid. They beat Team Liquid one game. I don't remember them winning another game.
They won another game? Oh, no, they didn't, I think.
I don't think they won a single
There's a
game.
chance this team probably had like the worst record ever. Honestly, let me see. Because you're right. They only won the one game. Good lord. Go to Leaguepedia really
In
quickly.
the best of threes, they played Lion. They lost 2-0. They played Cloud9. They lost 2-0. They played Team Liquid. They lost 2-0. Yeah.
Oh God! Did they seriously only win one game? The Team Liquid won? That's insane. That is crazy. Think about. Let's go to team rosters, split 2 playoffs, split 2. Yeah, because technically they didn't make playoffs. Technically, even though it's weird, that was the problem I had with the LTA 2025 North Split 2 was that basically there was no pressure when DSG would go like potentially 0-7 because everyone thought they were going to go 0-7, and then Team Liquid gave them their one game. It's like, how do they design a format like that? That means Disguised and Dignitas that went 1-6 both knew they weren't going to be out if you went 1-6. That is just
honestly, you should just like not have that positioning phase and just have the group stage. I actually really like how LPL does their groups. You have all the best teams.
right.
The thing is, we don't have enough teams in NA. But like,
True.
imagine you had just like Cloud9, Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, like FlyQuest, all just playing against each other. And then if you didn't want to watch like the Dignitas versus Shopify or Dignitas versus Discord, you don't have to. But like the thing with the league is they want the average to go up. So they're like, oh no, we want you to watch every single game. And then like that kind of compromises the format in my opinion. But
yeah,
because
like, no one does that in traditional sports. No one watches every game unless you're seriously like, and keep on, the only way for someone to do that is if they were just watching that sport dedicated. Like if I'm just watching basketball, I will watch most of the basketball games. No one's doing that for every sport. It's literally impossible.
I don't think you could watch every single basketball game if you're not like working in the basketball field. It just doesn't make sense because there's like 32 teams, right? There's 16 in each conference, and like your team will play 2 to 3 times a week. Each team, like it's too many games. Each game is like 4 hours. Like that's impossible. You can watch highlights of every game, sure, but every single game is a little too much.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you brought up just a second ago there, which is like the whole positioning phase. So essentially, guys, Cloud9 that just got second on the split overall in the positioning phase, there was no danger of them ever getting eliminated. They could have just went 1-6 too. Like, I don't think you should ever have a format where you essentially just basically tell teams, hey, you could actually just go 1-6, but you're still gonna move through. It's like, where's the stakes in the split? You know?
And it didn't matter because it's not like you got to pick. If it was a situation where like all of the bottom teams, if there was like an actual downside, a stronger downside to being 1-6, then you could argue. But the fact of the matter is like the downside wasn't that bad, right? So like I don't know. I thought maybe if the downside was like a little bit, we finished what, 7th? No, we finished 6th.
You guys finished 6th. You guys finished. Oh, sorry. Remember right here. The power of the internet. The internet. Yeah, you guys finished 2-5.
Yeah, so we finished 6th, and we were in a group with FlyQuest and 100 Thieves. Like we technically never should have finished 2nd, right? And Dignitas. So I feel like Disguised maybe even got a better group.
Well, they got
because they had Lions and 100 and Team Liquid, and both of those teams were like shaky. So I like the difference wasn't that big. You still had 2 really good teams and 2 like, bottom teams. So it didn't really make it. If it was a situation where like 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th are all in one team, or sorry, like 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th are all in one group, and then you have 1, 2, 3, and 8. But then that descents, then you wouldn't want to be. Yeah, so I think what they would have to do would have to be 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then 1, 6, 7, and 8. But then you would want to be last seed. I don't know. It's kind of hard to make. Just don't do these groups. Just don't.
Yeah, that's why it said this phase was worthless because it incentivizes just having a team basically go, hey, I could essentially, because even if Disguise had went winless like everyone wanted because they were playing bad was an understatement. These were atrocious. even if they had went 0-7, they're still in. I have never seen a split ever in any of the competitors I've ever watched where a team literally goes winless and makes it through. I've never seen that.
Well,
That
they
is,
didn't make it through anywhere, right? It's just they moved to the next stage, yes, but they didn't
but
make
you
it to
would,
playoffs.
but you would assume like if you go 0-7, you be out, right? Your splits over. That's what I would assume, but just depends. And then the playoffs worked out basically because Cloud9 got a chance to pick, or no, FlyQuest, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
FlyQuest got a chance to pick who they wanted to face, so they faced. So they picked, but it's like, but the picking didn't matter really either because you were gonna get Flying and Cloud9
Well, no,
anyway.
here's my problem. If you look at the seeding phase, like FlyQuest and Cloud9 played for first and second, but
Right.
then third and fourth, Team Liquid and Shopify played to see who was going to be third or fourth. And like technically, because we lost when we rematched in the lower bracket, Team Liquid got side select, so it did matter a little bit.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, FlyQuest was going to pick whoever they wanted. They didn't have to pick the 4th seed. If we won, they still would have picked us. So that kind of didn't matter a little bit too. So
Yeah, there was
there are
lot of
a little
things.
too many things that didn't matter. I agree.
Yeah, and then there was the point where FlyQuest was taking on Cloud9 that week where they got absolutely fisted into oblivion. That might be one of the biggest stomps we had seen I had not seen a stomp like that in League in forever. And that was like, what? But then you got to look at it and go like, well, Cloud9's not eliminated. They don't lose anything by losing this match. They're second regardless. And they're going to have to face FlyQuest later on anyway. So they essentially played like 3 best of series against FlyQuest within the span of like 3 weeks, but which crazy. They actually lost all 3 of them. They lost the best of 3. They lost the last 2 best of 5. That's heartbreaking. That's where depression starts sitting in, honestly. The first one was an utter stomp, and then this game, I don't think they could have won this one that people highlight. This is the one where they prioritized. I was on Twitter and I was very mad about this. They prioritized in the game 5 taking Akali over Tristana. If anyone tells me in draft, Tristana's still up in Fearless draft, and I get Akali, I'll take Tristana every day. Please give me Tristana over Akali. Then it was that comp where they had Ziggs, Tristana, Leona, Gragas, and Lee Sin. Yeah, FlyQuest's draft is way better. Cloud9 took like Akali, Lulu, Zeri. Guys, Zeri is trash right now. She got gutted into oblivion. Why would they ever take Zeri Lulu? Zeri Lulu is a bad lane right now to take. Then Thanatos was on Gnar. He didn't really actually get ahead against Gragas. Blabber's been kind of running it down most of the whole playoffs anyway. Outside of insert game here and there, Blabber had a horrible Sejuani game, and the Akali never really got to go against FlyQuest's draft in the way that they thought the Akali were, because like they thought Akali could just go into her shroud, flank off, and pick off some of the squishy targets. That's not gonna matter in that draft, because then first of all, Lee Sin could just kick her out when she reveals herself. Gragas just throws her barrel in the shroud. Tristana can knock her away with her ult. Like, it was such draft gap in that game 5. I had never seen a draft gap that hard. And I love Reaper. And I've watched Reaper forever since he started, but that was just horrible. In this last series, I was just so disappointed in this last series. Like, they had it in game 4. How do you throw that? That is like, because like at that point, FlyQuest, why would they not win the series? I mean, FlyQuest had the back door, but like, I don't know. Like, do you think Cloud9 could have won the series against FlyQuest?
The first one, absolutely. Like the first one, not so much. I do think they could have won. I think a little bit of better prep, they probably could have won. The second one, like I thought Cloud9 were the better team. Like in terms of playing like fundamental League of Legends, I thought FlyQuest were just more creative and more clutch. I think this was the biggest clutch game 5 victory. And like Cloud9 made an amazing play to basically win the game. Get Elder, get Baron, run it down mid, win. Right? That base defense, incredible. If it ended there, everyone would be like, man, that was the clutchest thing the Cloud9 have ever done. And then FlyQuest counter clutch with the double TP. Like that, yeah.
They got him with a double TP. If you guys remember what that meme was, they got him with the double TP, the legendary CLG double TP against Piglet. Legend has it, Piglet is still scarred from that moment right now.
He's still putting down his Caitlyn traps. He's still putting down his Caitlyn traps. He's like, oh, I trapped him, guys.
God, man.
Sean shows up.
This series just, because even game one, if people remember in this game 1, the series, they got draft gaps so hard. They gave over Zier to Quad. Like, oh god, game 1 was rough for Cloud9 in this series. But then games 2 and 3, they brought it back. And game 4, you're like, we have it. No, we don't. No, we just don't. And then game 5, well, shit. That's just how our season ended.
That's heartbreaking, man. That's so heartbreaking.
My biggest problem was that like people in the community were like, "Oh well, we should have." I agree, we should have second seeds. I have no problem with that. I think we're much better than any guys. Brazilian teams are always been bad. There's no now they've been bad. They've always sucked. They've sucked for years. It's nothing can help them. I do agree we should have 2 seeds. I fully agree with that. But when people say they would have did better at MSI, I was like, no, actually, guys, they couldn't even beat FlyQuest. Guys, they lost, as we just said, they lost 3 best of series to FlyQuest in a row, all of them, barring close games here and there in the series. You guys, Blabber would have gotten destroyed at MSI playing the way he has been. Like,
I don't think so. I
you don't think so?
I think they would have done quite well, actually. I think that the thing is, you level up so much during these like boot camps right before the games and playing and like throughout the tournament that I think Cloud9 have improved more since the beginning of winter than
True.
FlyQuest have. So if you're looking at like trajectory, I actually think like Cloud9 could have improved a lot from the boot camp and from MSI. So it's not even a matter of like, would they have done better than FlyQuest? FlyQuest are more creative, so maybe they'll get more games. Sure, like I'm not going to argue that point. You can have that, but I don't think FlyQuest would do bad or embarrass us. I think they do pretty well, and even if they like lose to all the Asian teams, they would level up a lot from going to MSI.
Oh, also, there's a crazy part. It's looking at FlyQuest now. I'll say this though, you know, Masu. It was so weird how Masu and Quad were getting the criticism. I watched Quad. Quad is fine. I never got this like Quad fell off narrative that people try to perpetuate on Reddit. I thought Quad was completely fine. Quad played fine. I don't really get like it's weird when a player isn't making like a bunch of flashy plays like the 5-man ults and people are like, oh well, they're just having a bad split.
Exactly.
His Quad was playing completely fine. Masu was playing completely fine. Just because someone's not making a 5-man all sickly sin kick over the wall when you do 2 ward jumps, it doesn't mean they're playing bad. It's just, you know, some games you just take it easy. Some games you just play a lot more harder to win. But I think Quad has been the best mid laner we've in the league for a while at this point. I mean, Quid, he's good. He's solid. But Quid, in my opinion, tilts so hard when his team is in a bad position. He's not the player to really bring his team out of a bad spot. But Quinn, when he's on fire, looks really good. I don't like when people say Loki's not really top 4. It's hard because he doesn't really feel like a carry threat. I feel like whenever I'm watching Loki, I'm feeling he's not really a threat on the map like Quid or Quad are in situations like that. You know, maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but I don't feel like he's a threat in the game, you know? But that's just me. I don't know if you feel the same way, but, you know.
I see what you're saying. I do think that, like, for example, last split, Quid was the best player in the league. Like, he was
really good.
Actively, yeah, he was so good. But coming into, like, this split, I don't know what happened to 100 Thieves. I do think Loki kind of played better overall, to be honest, than Quid.
True. I think Quid deserved MVP last split than the split that he got it.
I think he kind of deserved both splits because that year, like that 100 Thieves team would not have even made it to playoffs if it wasn't for Quid just like actually like smurfing every single game. Like he wasn't smurfing 2 games or 3 games. Like no, he had to smurf every single game. It was just like, I mean, come on, the amount of like weight that he had to carry. It kind of makes you feel like, okay, maybe he did deserve it, you know?
Yeah. And then you look at what 100 Thieves is now. I feel like their team, because their team, if you look at it just overall, minus Quid, River's been not as strong as he was in prior years. Sniper is, I don't know, he's not been that good this year overall. And they do have Ayla, and Ayla's been, he's Ayla.
This year was great. Last year he was so bad, but this year,
this year he's not been that bad. Yeah, and FBI, they got back FBI because they were like, we need a carry threat, even though Tomo wasn't even playing that bad, honestly. But they're like, okay, maybe FBI has a higher ceiling than Tomo. You bring over FBI. FBI was fine in winter, and then this summer split, spring split, it's been very off in positioning. He's been very off with his team sometimes, but he's been doing most of the shot calling though. I watched their content when they have like the voice comm videos are out. He's doing a lot of the talking. So
I guess FBI has been great addition. I don't know what went wrong with that team.
I like maybe it's like they're finally getting exposed for because like their players, you could see how people kind of run over their team. There's like mechanical. I don't know. Honestly, it's just they're really inconsistent. They remind me of Weibo when they had they remind me of Weibo a little bit in the LPL sometimes. Super inconsistently consistent sometimes. That's for me. Like when they play good, it looks very great, but they'll really always play bad against like bottom teams. Like I don't know I don't know what they can improve on, because like I'm pretty sure you might know this too, since you're a little bit more connected. Doesn't even feel like they even want to be here as an org anymore, you know? Like just from an organizational standpoint, because they sold their slot back to Riot, and then they kind of are the guest partner team or whatever they call it now.
Yeah.
Ugh, God. Well, it's not as bad as Disguise. No one wants to be Disguise right now. That's at least
No
they're
one
not
wants
them.
to be this guy.
No, man. Dude, I watched Scary Jerry play that first split, and I was like, this man is not scary. This man's Clarence. This is Clarence from 8 Mile. Good Lord. I was calling JoJo Clarence from 8 Mile because he was choking on Cloud9 last year. No, there's too many Clarences around here. But yeah, we had a great show. It was awesome talking to you, man. It was great meeting you the first
I
time.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't make you go crazy or anything with my league takes.
No. It was fun just having like a bunch of throwbacks going back to like 2015, 2018, just jumping around. But yeah, it was fun talking. Thanks for having me.
I want to tell this before we head out. Actually, a few more things before. I do love LCS. I've been watching LCS pretty much most of my adult life after I graduated high school. I would not like to have a week where it doesn't exist, barring like, off season. It's not going to happen, but I would like for it to be around 10, 20 more years. And, that Riot Games interview that happened with that one guy where he basically said, I don't really care what the fans think. We're just going to do it anyway. So tone deaf. God. Hopefully the LTA can survive. But yeah, last few things I'll ask you, man, is do you have anything planned coming up that you would like to let the audience know about?
Yeah, MSI is about to start. It's starting actually a lot sooner than you expect. It's starting in 3 days. So MSI is starting. So I'm going to be doing interviews. I already submitted some forms for interviews before MSI starts. Usually they do like a press conference and stuff like that. So hopefully I get some interviews there. But yeah, just looking forward to watching NA do great at MSI, and hopefully I get some cool interviews. Last year at MSI was like some of my favorite interviews. Like I said, the Lehens interview that I did, the Gumayushi interview, I quite enjoyed. The Coma interview, they all happened at MSI, so I'm hoping to get some more.
And as you guys know, people know from my Twitter profile, I support Gen G and G2. Glad they made it. Cloud9 could make it because reasons, obviously. It's okay. It's okay. I have the tools to cope with whatever life throws at me. I'm good. But, last year, T1 beat FlyQuest so bad, they mental boomed and were like, bye, Jensen. They actually beat them so hard, FlyQuest literally gave up at playing League so bad. That was a huge stomp. I was like, damn, Faker just out here. Faker's old as hell. Hands don't work anymore and just...
I know, he's like on his walking cane. He's just like smacking around. Yeah.
They like literally gave up on Jensen. They're like, okay, Jensen, goodbye. Get in quad. We'll see it. Who knows what will happen with this guy, But last year, seeing G2 upset Top Esports was good. Hopefully we have, man, that was G2 T1 was a good series. G2 upset Top Esports. You had that. What was it? Did Genji play against T1 last year? No, they didn't.
No, the BLG beat T1 twice.
Right. Yeah. You had I still MSI 2023. People are gonna talk about JDG T1 because that was like the best series of the year. Genji versus T1 that year was in the play that Chovy made on the fountain where he Zanya'd. Oh, I was just in there like,
yeah, where you bought it. Yeah,
it's so goat. Oh God. But what's crazy is I think they changed MSI so like because people were complaining that you would see too many inter-regional matchups. Because I didn't like watching inter-regional matchups at international events because we already watch inter-regional matchups in the regions before the international event. So I'm glad they've changed that. So now the only way for Genji and T1 to fight each other at the finals is if they actually make the finals. You're not going to see like anyone's legend face BLG because we already watched that. We don't need to see that anymore. I want to see BLG fight different people. It's like the point of these events. You want to see them fight different regions. So what's a matchup that you're looking forward to before we head out?
So FlyQuest, assuming like G2 and AL or not AL, BLG make it out. FlyQuest is gonna play not AL, BLG. What am I saying? If FlyQuest is gonna end up playing AL, I'm actually quite excited for that matchup. I think it'd be Inspired versus Tarzan is like a really cool matchup. And AL don't exactly have too much experience, I mean, obviously Tarzan, Flandre, like yeah, they have Tabe. Yes, they have a lot of experience, but I feel like that could be first game of their like we can find different ways, different strategies of like upsetting them. So I'm excited for that matchup.
Yes,
And then obviously FlyQuest G2, hopefully.
it's
After this.
crazy when FlyQuest took on Gen G. People were like, "Oh my god!" Well, they brought Gen G to 5 games. They didn't say they could win the series because it's crazy. People are bragging about a series they didn't win, which is not a weird. What's a weird, interesting, weird flex. I want to see FlyQuest take on Gen G again, and I want to prove to people that Gen G were actually running it down in those games that they lost. I want Gen G to crush them so hard. Be like, well, I guess they were the better team and they were just running it down. Or if FlyQuest do beat them, you're like, okay, maybe FlyQuest were the better team that day. But that's a matchup I want to see again. I want to see a FlyQuest Gen G rematch. Not just for Gen G's sake, they're probably gonna win. But I want to see it to the point where it's like, okay, were they taking it seriously or were FlyQuest just choking? You never know.
They were taking it seriously. I think FlyQuest came very, very prepared for that series.
They did because
they ran out of juice, but they definitely came out much more prepared than, in my opinion.
Shanks, I've seen this guy since he's been on World Elite. Can't wait to watch this guy. And this guy's actually pretty good. I think he's very talented. It was so sad you never got a chance to see him at an international event. It's crazy. Tarzan is honestly just as good as Canyon. He just doesn't have the resume to show it. Like his trophy cabinet is just got one this split. He actually has gotten his first trophy this split. He's lost every final since he's been on Griffin, which is crazy to think about, actually.
He lost, was it 2 on Griffin, right? Or was it more? I think it was 2 on Griffin, or maybe 3. I think he maybe lost 3 on Griffin. He lost 1 on... He lost 1 on AL, like last split, right? And then he lost LNG. He lost 1 on LNG. He lost 1 on Weibo. Did they make finals that split?
Yeah, they lost to BLG against Weibo. It was 3-0, remember?
Yeah, I think he lost like 6 or 7 finals before finally winning. Like that's crazy, man.
1 in 6. Guys, I promise you, Tarzan is still just as good. He's literally just as good as Canyon. He just doesn't have the trophies to show it to you. He's a very talented jungler. I can't wait to see him just crush Inspired. Not gonna like Inspired, but come on, there's a little. As kids say these days, there's levels to this shit here. You know, it's like Fury up. You're like, guys, it's Brazil. Brazil's horrible. That doesn't. They're gonna probably go 0-4 drop. No one's gonna care. But you know, they're here. They get the prize money. You know. But the last thing I'll ask you, man, is do you have any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular, and anything else you want to say before we head out?
No, I think just shout out FlyQuest. Hopefully they make NA proud.
Yes, Busio is very buff now. So just God,
intimidate the other players.
Yes, Whipple was still wide, and do you think Inspired's voice is back? Because he lost his voice yelling.
Yeah, probably. It's probably back.
Hey, Cloud9, make an offer to Inspired. I would love that. I would love that. Or if you get Tarzan, I'd be really happy. Allegedly in Minecraft.
Allegedly in Minecraft. We'll see.
You know, it's great talking to Cloud Sidky. Hopefully we do this, sometime down the road when enough events have passed, we can talk about them more. But yeah, man, it was great meeting you. And thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Cloud